Greetings and welcome to our daily Devo for Thursday, the 22nd of June today. The 22nd. We're still in Jerusalem. I believe, if I counted right, it's our 12th day, I believe, or maybe even our 13th day in Jerusalem today. But today we take a walk by the pool of Siloam. The pool of Siloam. They reference John chapter 9, verses 1 through 11, and they quote verse 7, "Go," he told him, "wash in the pool of Siloam." This word means sent. So the man went and washed and came home seeing. One of Jesus's many miracles, recorded ones anyway. John would also tell us he did a lot of other things. There just wasn't room to write it all down. This Jerusalem story set at the pool of Siloam challenges us to revisit how we think about and interact with those who have disabilities. When Jesus' disciples saw the man born blind, they treated him like a nameless object lesson. Remember, they asked the question, "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" And that's in verse 2 of John 9. Their words betray a common misperception, later echoed by the Pharisees in verse 34 of chapter 9, that moral failings were the cause of physical disabilities. Consequently, people who were disabled were shunned by the respectable crowd and were not welcome to worship at the temple. When Jesus looked at this man, he saw something quite different. He approached him, spit on the ground, and made a poultice of mud and spittle that he put on the man's eyes. Once that's done, we expect Jesus to say to the man, "Open your eyes and tell me what you see." Instead, and although the man still could not see, Jesus directed him to go to the pool of Siloam and wash off the mud. What is this about? The pool of Siloam is located in the southernmost sector of Jerusalem and at its lowest elevation. Here, it collected water from the Gihon spring via a tunnel system constructed at the close of the 8th century BC. The blind man would have approached a renovated 3/4 acre pool that had 3 sets of stairs, enabling visitors to walk down and into the water as its level changed. People went to the pool of Siloam for 2 reasons. First, it was a water source for those living in the southernmost part of the holy city. Second, and more important to the story in John 9, it was a ritual purification bath. In the 1st century AD, those going to worship at the temple first had to fully immerse themselves in water. Smaller ritual baths called mikvah are found throughout Jerusalem, but the pool of Siloam met all the necessary criteria for a bathing station and could accommodate hundreds of people at one time. So when Jesus sent the blind man to the pool of Siloam, he was directing him to a place where he could prepare for worship. And therein lies the significance. Even before the man regained his sight, Jesus regarded him as someone who had every right to go to the temple and worship. And in doing so, he subverted the mistaken notion that people with disabilities were somehow undeserving of God's love and unfit for worship. It sends the same message to us. Those who have disabilities are persons fully valued by the Lord. An appropriate devotion for sure. I think a good perspective on it as well. because we live in an age where people with disabilities have to fight for their rights. And it's been a long haul over the many, many years of getting buildings done in such a way that allows you easy access, of being able to do jobs and have work, employment, even though you're limited in some ways, you may not be in others, and you can use those abilities. To treat them as equal, to give them equal rights, to not look down on them. I like the point that our author makes here, that Jesus saw that man and saw him as worthy, irregardless of the blindness, irregardless of the obvious ignorance of the day. For the Jewish community anyway, the disciples asked the question that everybody probably thinks when they see someone like this: whose sin problem is this? There's judgment from God on this person. Jesus says, no, go prepare. Basically, as our author says there, no, nobody's problem. This is going to be a miracle today that God will use to glorify himself. But this man is good enough in God's eyes to go worship in the holy place, in the holy temple of Jerusalem. We need to see all people as having worth and value. All people in God's eyes have worth, have value. And that's important in our day and age, where there's a lot of stereotyping, where there's a lot of name calling, a lot of judgment. We're not on the Lord's side if that's our perspective on people who have issues, as we might say, or problems of various kinds. We need to see others the way God sees them. 2 questions. What messages does society send to people with disabilities that signal that they are less than whole? And there's a lot of them. How can the church work to subvert those messages and show that the Lord values people who have disabilities? Obviously, it's treat them with respect and make them welcome. Treat them with respect and make them welcome. Here's our prayer for today. Lord Jesus, please make me aware of times when I diminish those with disabilities by my thoughts. And that's the toughest one. We can put on a face, right? We can smile and greet, but what's really going on in our minds? It's great that he adds this to the prayer, that I diminish those with disabilities by my thoughts or actions. And as the church, please help us do what you did for this blind man. Love demands no less. Blessings to you today.